Hello Amusement Park Portal! Thank you for tuning into our latest video where we look at Cedar Point and 6 rides that I think they could really use at the moment to complement the great collection of coasters that the park currently has. But before we begin, I ask a big favor of you if you just want to hit that like and subscribe button downstairs there, as it really does help us out and we really do appreciate you for doing so. So with that being said, let's get started. Now, as you know, Cedar Point is home to some amazing record-breaking coasters. There's no denying that. And you can always count on the park to add to its great collection of coasters every few years or so. However, beyond the coasters, the park is really lacking a good ride package. I mean, they have some basic rides, like a lot of other parks do. And probably the most thrilling of their non-coaster rides is the Skyhawk, and probably Max Air. But beyond that, the ride package there is pretty basic. There's really nothing too unique outside of maybe Windseeker and Cedar Downs. So let's dive right into it and look at 6 rides I think Cedar Point could add to the park to really put their ride collection over the top. So let's get going with number 6. A Zamperla Nebulous. Now this ride here is a lot of fun. I've been on a few of these at several different parks around the country and we always have a good time on them. However, the only concern I would have with a ride like this at Cedar Point is capacity. These are capacity nightmares. They take forever to load and unload, but once you are seated and strapped in, this is one heck of a ride, and I think the general public would absolutely eat this ride up, and it would be a good fit for the park. They could even double up and build 2 of them side by side. I think that would fix the capacity problem. Next up, we have number 5. I think the park would be better off with a full-size teacup ride. Now, just about almost every park in the country has their own version of this, and I think one of these would fit in perfect at Cedar Point. Now, Cedar Point does have a children's version of this ride in Camp Snoopy, or Planet Snoopy rather. However, well, unless you're a kid or a real small adult, you're going to have a fun time fitting in this thing. And beyond that, the capacity is pretty low on this as well. So that's why I think this family favorite ride would be a perfect fit on the midways at Cedar Point. Next up, we have number 4. Now, several of Cedar Point's record-breaking coasters will flip you upside down. However, outside of that, Cedar Point doesn't have any other rides that'll take you upside down. And that's why I believe one of these like Zamperla Hawk type rides would be a perfect fit for Cedar Point. Not only are these rides pretty intense, but they will flip you upside down multiple times as well. And I gotta tell you, all of them that I've ridden throughout parks in the country, we've had a blast on these things. However, if you have a weak stomach, I highly recommend you stay away from these. But because it does flip you upside down and the intensity level on this ride, that's why I think this type of ride would be a perfect fit to add to Cedar Point. Number 3. Coming in our number 3 position is a Zamperla Endeavor. Now these are also a lot of fun, and in addition to that, they take riders upside down as well. This would be a perfect replacement since they removed the Witch's Wheel at Cedar Point, which is kind of similar to this. Now Zamperla makes a 48 passenger version of this and a 24 version of this ride, so definitely would need the 48 version, but I think this would be a perfect fit for Cedar Point. Number 2. Now I think a lot of people can agree that the park is really lacking a traditional log flume ride. These are family favorites. They're a lot. In addition to that, these have been staples at many theme parks for many years. One of the nice things about log flumes is you can come off and not be absolutely soaked. You just kind of get a nice little splash to cool you down for the moment. And unfortunately, the only option currently at Cedar Point is Thunder Canyon. Now this one, you're going to go on it, not only are you going to get absolutely soaked, but you're also going to come off of it smelling like a fish as they pump water into this ride directly from Lake Erie. And on top of that, this ride is really starting to show its age. It was built in the mid 80s and, well, it's just not as reliable as it used to be. And if you go back and look at our last video that we made, you'll see this is on the list of rides that we think may be removed in the near future. So if you haven't checked out that video yet, I recommend going and checking it out, because this does land on that list. And another thing I did want to add in too, with the park the size of Cedar Point, it's rather odd that they do only have one water ride. I know they do have the water park and they're trying to get people to visit the water park, but it's kind of a hassle if you just want to cool off and not have to go to the water park and change into your suit, find a locker, have to deal with all that mess. So the park definitely could benefit from another water ride. And I think a log flume would be the perfect addition to Cedar Point. Alright, and that brings us to our number 1 most needed ride at Cedar Point. And it's no surprise that the number 1 position belongs to the Dark Ride. Now, dark rides have always been a staple at many amusement parks throughout the country and world for that matter. And they are very popular with not only families, but even people that enjoy coasters enjoy a good spin on the dark ride as well. Now, there are all types of dark rides. There's track dark rides, there's shooting dark rides where you shoot the targets and rack up points to see who does the best at the end. There are dark rides that are in water, kind of like at Disney, with like Pirates of the Caribbean, the Old Mill at Kennywood, and many more. And it's just amazing to me that a park of Cedar Point's caliber does not have a dark ride. But that wasn't always the case. Cedar Point used to have a couple dark rides back in the day. The Earthquake Dark Ride lived at Cedar Point from 1965 to 1984, where the Snoopy Boutique currently stands today. Now, this dark ride simulated the earthquake of San Francisco and was just a fun ride, and unfortunately I really did hate to see this one go. But probably the most famous dark ride that Cedar Point ever had was the Pirate Ride. Now, this ride was located right next to Blue Streak, and it's currently where the house on Boo Hill opens up for Hollow Weekends, and this is probably one of the most missed rides at the park today. The Pirate Ride lasted from 1966 to 1996. Now, signs of the Pirate Ride still exist today. If you do happen to walk through the house on Boo Hill during Hollow Weekends, look down. You'll see these tracks on the floor. Well, that was the ride path for the Pirate Ride. In addition to that, the park still uses various props remaining from the ride during Hollow Weekends, and I believe it's called Cutthroat Cove in the back of the park. If you go through there, you'll see many props from the Pirate Ride still in action today. So there you have it. There's our top 6 non-coaster rides we think Cedar Point is lacking today. Let me know down in the comments below if you agree with our list or if we're missing something from that list that you'd like to add. So with that being said, we're going to end this video on that note. I want to thank everybody for watching, and again, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It really does mean a lot to us, and we'll see you all out on the midways real soon.